Hi everyone, welcome back to Terranormal. My name is Tara and I have Melissa with me today.
Good morning, everyone.
And we are talking about Deja Vu.
Ooh, yes.
We kind of talked about this a little bit, but it was basically called something else when we talked about
Yes,
it. Well, we were
yes.
talking about more universe-y things, but
Yes, and how repeating things in parallel universes and whatnot.
yeah. So this is pretty much the same theory. And I don't know if you looked it up at all. Because I was like, I think we should do this on one of the episodes.
Yes.
But basically, the Deja Vu theory is people believe that the idea of like deja vu, when you like think of something and you're like, that's already happened.
Yes.
Maybe it has already happened, but it's in your alternate universe's you, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit because I find that idea very crazy.
Yes. and even those moments where it's not something that's happened, for lack of a better phrase, in this life.
Yeah.
I've had things happen where I've seen something or been to a place or just an area or a house or whatever where I just really feel like I've been there before, but I've never been there in this life. This is the first time, or a first time seeing it, and it triggers something. Or on the flip side of that, I've maybe, then this part's what really gets me. I have a dream about something and then I see it in real life, or an alternate version of it, or something that fits it or feels familiar. And that's really where I feel the deja vu sort of crosses different types of boundaries and stories. So anyway, yeah, I would love to get into that today. So,
or even, have you ever seen someone and you're like, they look really familiar? I kind of think, is that someone? Like, that's maybe off the subject of deja vu, but like when you just see someone and you don't know where you know them from, but you're like, they look really familiar.
Yes.
I'm like, is that something similar where maybe they're existing on a different like timeline or universe? Not universe, but I guess what do you call it?
I don't know, like, or maybe you've known them from a different time, or yeah, there's something very kind of crazy about it. There's some type of connection across the universe and across, even depending on what you believe in, across lives, if you will, where you're just like, I'm familiar with this. There's something, whether it's a person or a place, and it's kind of,
I don't know, I find
creepy, but it's definitely something that you can't deny.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everyone's experienced it. I think it's really cool when I have experienced it, especially the dream thing, when I've dreamt something, and it may be a week later, maybe a month later. I've had some where it's years later where something happens and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember dreaming about this, or I remember seeing this play out. And it's not really the other way around, where I'm not talking about like when you go through your day and you see people or you do things and then you have a dream about it.
Yeah, which is a very normal thing.
Which is pretty normal. Your body's processing images and whatnot. No, this is, you have a dream or an image of something and then it appears in life later after the dream. And that to me is also deja vu, because you've already experienced something with it and then it appears. Yeah. So, kind of crazy. Like manifestation or something.
Yeah. So. I don't know. Or is it like a psychic thing? You know, could you perceive it as that?
Yeah.
It's all very, like, super strange to me. Like, I don't know.
It's amazing. But I could start with a story of I wouldn't say it's my first encounter with deja vu, but it's something that really sticks out to me.
Okay.
I was a freshman in high school, and it was the year that I think I had learned, or I was going to learn how to drive, but I hadn't yet. And so I was taking the bus to school. And it would come pick me up in front of my house, and then we would go down like some of these back roads. And growing up in Indiana, where I was at, we still had farm fields around the neighborhood that I lived in, or at least large fields that were open. And I remember this was a dream one. I remember having a dream about this little like field that was kind of mowed down with grass or wheat or growing around it. And it was just squared off, kind of like somebody's yard. Mm-hmm. And in the corner of there was like a trail leading from a shed to the corner of a yard. So just like a well-worn kind of like path where a car would go. And in the corner of the yard was a wheelbarrow. And in my dream, it was on fire. I don't know why the wheelbarrow was on fire. It wasn't anything scary, though. It was like a bonfire, but it was in this wheelbarrow. And I was like, okay, that's whatever. So I had this dream, and it didn't really affect me, but I was like, okay, I just had a dream, whatever. And I can't for the life of me remember how much time went by from when I had the dream to the moment in real life when I saw this. But I was on the bus, and the bus driver was dropping people off, and I was like one of the last people who to be dropped off. And we go around this neighborhood that's maybe a quarter mile from my home, but I never drove down this road. It was a road that it took you out into more cornfields versus toward the Chicago area and more urban area where the stores were and all that. So I would have no reason to go past this house. I don't remember even going down that road probably my entire life until I was riding this bus. So we go past it and we stop, and I look to the left out the window, and there's a house with a side yard, grass mowed down. There's a brown shed facing the opposite direction of the house with two well-worn tire treads in the grass, they're in the dirt. And it led to a decorative wheelbarrow with dirt and flowers planted in it. This is very popular in the Midwest. People like to plant flowers in everything.
I haven't seen that here, though.
That's true. We do
that's
have
just
it here
like
too.
a big,
It's very kitschy kind of 80s, 90s thing. And so they had this wooden stained wheelbarrow in the corner of this yard with flowers like begonias or those just flowers growing out of it and kind of cascading down the sides of it. And I remember sitting there, and it didn't occur to me at first, and then as I stared at it longer, I was like, oh my God, that's my dream. And I kept rationalizing, maybe I have seen it before, and my mind just put a fire in the wheelbarrow, whatever. But I truly don't ever remember. It's a side road. It leads to nothing. It's a dead
probably
end.
Never been down.
Yeah. And here I am on the bus, and I had actually passed by it before, but it was like in the winter and all that. But this was in the spring, and you could see everything now. And I remember looking over and seeing that, and it was exactly like my dream. And it was like,
so
I've been here before. I've seen this, and it's happened where I've walked into a house, and I'm walking through and usually it's an older house, not like a new one, but I'm walking through it. I'm like, God, something seems very familiar, or I recognize this, or I meet somebody and I'm like, did I go to high school with you? No,
I've had the house thing too, where I've gone to maybe it's a friend's house or like a friend of a friend or something.
Yeah,
and you go in and you're like, am I sure I haven't been here before? Because this, not even like the layout and everything, like the feel, because I feel like every building you go into, every house that you go into has like a feeling to it. Like,
yes.
You can feel I don't know if it's like an energy thing or if I'm just crazy or what, but
no, it's a feeling.
Like sometimes you'll walk in and you're like, this is like, has a very familiar energy or feeling to it.
Yeah.
Along with like the layout of the house. But I mean, where, I live and a lot of my friends or whatever, there's a lot of houses that have similar layouts. So
that's true.
That.
Our neighborhood's kind of like that too.
But it's more the feeling that I go off of. I'm like, this feels like I've been here before. I don't know how to explain that, but it is kind of like a deja vu-y.
It's a very strange feeling. And maybe it is, when which is kind of cool to think about if you were like a baby and you went into, because I know we have a courthouse back in Indiana that I remember my mom telling me she took me to when I was like 6 months old, and like we would walk around this very old courthouse, whatever, and they had little shops and whatnot. I don't remember it. I can't sit here and recall it, but when we go back there, it's like I never left. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I recognize things and memories or feelings from it. But I was 6 months old, and at that time, you don't really process that or retain it. So,
Right.
But it is a feeling. Like, there's something like, okay, my soul has been in this space before. Or, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like, I wonder if that's like what a deja vu thing is like your soul or the alternate you has been in that place before.
Yes.
And it's just when you recognize it again, you get that like weird tingle. Like, I know that's,
Yes.
I don't know. I just think that's kind of an interesting concept to think about, because when
Yeah.
I think of deja vu, I'm just like, oh yeah, I thought about that before. And
it does
I've
feel
been
like
here
an
before.
attachment. It feels like it's a cool connection, I think. Like, when I saw that Wilbur thing, I remember sitting there being like, I'm in some way connected to this space on Earth. I don't know how or why.
Right.
But it's just a cool kind of message from the universe. Like, it visited my mind, and then, and it showed up there, and then it manifested itself in the real world, which is very powerful to think of. If we can control that, what we can manifest actually in our lives. But I feel like I feel like I want to look it up again, but I remember looking up the definition of deja vu, like the actual definition. Of course, I don't have it on me, but
of course,
it was just really. It's fascinating to me too that so many other people have experienced it. Mm-hmm. It's not just like one random person feeling it. It's something that a lot of people have experienced, and they actually have a term for. So I don't think it is just some random thing.
I don't think it's... I think when things just happen repeatedly, we just try to rationalize, like, whatever, just kind of blow it off. Mm-hmm. But I truly don't think that that's the case in a lot of instances. I feel like there is some sort of weird connection that's happening, whether it's like you've actually experienced this thing and you just kind of forgot, or it's your soul's been there, or the other you in another universe, a parallel universe such as this one that's just slightly off.
Yeah.
Has done this thing already, and then it's, we're just a few steps behind it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Or that, yeah.
Like, it's playing out in the future, and so we're just experiencing that for the first time.
Yeah.
Ourselves, but another us has already done it. I don't know if I'm rambling too much on that.
Almost like the Matrix, where like you don't want to cross, essentially like things are going on in front of us, and I guess this gets into what is it? Where we're controlled from the future with the simulation stuff.
Simulation.
Yes, where it's like it's a glitch in the Matrix, but it's a glitch in our simulation where, oh my gosh, we put that in there. It actually exists. Like, oh my goodness, in this world we've created, and the cat walking past you twice kind of thing, and just like, wait a minute, I feel like I've seen this already, or and I've had it too with in talking to people, where I'm like, haven't I already had this conversation?
I've had that a lot.
And we've done it here, where I've just been like, haven't we talked about this before? And the other, it's really cool when the other person's like, yeah, I feel like we have, and yet for some reason we came back on that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool too.
I like that,
have that. And I don't know how much I believe in, like, not parallel universes, but as far as life after death, or having previous lives, things like that. But I did read an interesting sort of fact that I never thought about it this way, that every person you've ever known, every person that's ever lived has lived on this earth. It's kind of trippy to think about. Every word that's ever been spoken, well, I guess they've spoken in space too, but I mean, like, every person you've ever known has been on this earth, has lived on this earth, was born on this earth, died on this earth, has been here. So every person who came before us and every person who comes after us will be on this earth. And will, as structures change around us, it's still all the same matter. It's still all the same stuff. And that just fascinates
that's like
me.
really trippy to think about.
Yeah.
But it's so logical. It's like, obviously they've been here, but
Yeah, there's no other place that they are.
It's like,
that we know of.
all we are is dust
In the wind. Oh my gosh. And then there's things like that. Those are signs. Those are a little different. But
oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Agreed.
That one day where we were like, what were we even, I don't remember what we were talking about.
The songs
we were like,
that came on that day.
Yeah, there were so many songs that came on that day that were just like correlated with everything we were talking about. Like I was talking about like, I feel like time's slipping me by, and then all these songs came on that were like,
yeah.
And then what was the other one? Oh, Dream On.
Dream On, yes. Yes.
Aerosmith.
It's like it's almost trying to tell us, what we need to do. But
yeah, so
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a different thing.
That could be a different podcast, but it kind of ties into, again, kind of, I see Deja Vu as just a unique occurrence, like something that happens, and I just think it's cool. It's another connection to the universe.
I was just gonna say, it's like another universe thing.
Yeah.
It's
a message
it's like all somebody's trying to tell you something, or like, are these deja vu things happening because they're trying to tell you something?
Yes.
Or is that,
or is it just a little like, hi?
Is it just like a little blip that wasn't meant to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to prefer to think that they are meant to be, because
I like that idea better.
The one that I had with the wheelbarrow was pretty profound. Other ones have been a little more subtle, like, I feel like I've been here, or where I know I went back and visited my grandparents' house when I went back for my aunt's funeral back in January of this year. And I remember going back, and I even took pictures because I wanted to document the places where I remember being physically in that space when I was 3, when I was 4, when my memories were first starting to really stay with me. And the house has the same walls. It has the same garden in the back, even though the garden's gone. The space is the same. I remember where the gooseberry bush was, the train tracks out back, the garage, and I just remember so much about it, and growing up in that house. And it's one of those where I remember when I physically was there versus deja vu, where I'm like, I've never actually been here that I can remember. But it still gives me that same kind of feeling, because I walk in and I touch the yellow tile, the bright yellow tile she had in her kitchen. That's been there since probably like 1940s. Like, it's been there since my dad was born. And it's seen everything that's gone on in there. And I know that sounds really crazy to like personify tile, but it's trippy for me to think about and to go back to that. And that's kind of what I feel like deja vu is, except without remembering the initial experience, which it's like, that's even more special because something put it there.
Yeah.
And is it a continuation of the life that was going on before this?
Right.
Is it...
I don't know. It's like something like significant that you can't really... But you don't know why.
Yeah, you don't know why. And it's like, was it me in another life walking around this, or maybe the wheelbarrow did burn and it got saved, but it's non-functional and it was stayed there forever, and then the person who eventually decades later moved into that house decided to plant flowers in it because it can't be used for anything else. I don't know.
You never know.
Or was that symbolic in my dream of new growth, and it was like the universe trying to tell me, I want you to recognize this spot, but notice the difference and how that's significant to you, or whatever. And I've had other times too, it's not been as specific. That was a big one that stuck with me, but I've had other moments too where I've walked, I walked with my girlfriend. We used to, before they built up a lot of the cornfields around where I used to live into subdivisions and houses, we used to go walking, and they were just forests. And we used to make videos and just be silly. And there were times I would walk into like a little opening somewhere, and I'd be like, I know, like, I recognize this. I recognize that tree, like something spatially about it. And it's just really kind of a cool feeling. It's almost like a rush. Like, in that moment, you're connected.
It's like, you're just connected to the energies within the universe or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
So I had... And I don't even know if you could really count this as deja vu because the dream I had was so obscure. But it was a dream I had when I was like really young, like 6 years old, 7 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 5. But it was like a dream that stuck with me and scared the crap out of me, and I didn't want to sleep for like a week after it.
Yes.
But I had this dream that I was in the neighborhood where my grandma's house was, but in her neighbor's yard. So her neighbor's yard had, the front yard had like kind of a path that winded around like just the front yard a little bit.
Yeah.
There were just like trees, like pine trees or whatever on the either side. Nothing too crazy. But I had a dream I was walking along that path and there were all these body parts everywhere.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was myself as like a little girl, and I had a bag of potato chips, and I was feeding potato chips to all these body parts.
Oh my God.
And the body parts were eating them. Okay, and you're gonna
Are they human body parts? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're gonna think, why are you telling me this about deja vu, right?
I was actually thinking, where are the mouths on these body parts? But
I don't
either
know.
way.
I don't know. My child mind could not come up with that. I don't know. But a few years later, I heard, I think it was like my sister or my mom was saying something about a big plane crash that happened over my grandma's house. And this was before I was born, and my sister said that she remembered that plane crash because she was at my grandma's house at the time, and there was like a big explosion, big boom. It was like everyone's freaking out. And I looked up news articles from that, just kind of curious what the things were.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people died in that plane crash, and they said people were finding body parts strewn about like the neighborhood.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Like as soon as I heard that, I immediately thought of my weird dream as a kid. And I was like, was I thinking about this thing that happened before I was even born?
Yeah. It's like the...
And I don't know, but it's like very abstract, but I'm like, why? I don't know, but it was like her neighborhood that I had this dream in. And the body parts, like the arms and the hands, were very specific. And
Wow.
I don't... that one's
it's
really
hard not to make a connection with
I
that.
know.
It's hard not to say that's not deja vu. Like, because mainly because you're remembering something that, as much as you didn't experience it the first time, the memory of it, it's almost like memories that are implanted in us of something that may or may not have occurred, but not in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Or not to us directly in this life or whatever. And that maybe the energy of that, your mind was open enough that it got into your
Picked up on
subconscious.
that. Yeah.
But still, the fact that you don't physically see them out there,
Yeah.
and you picked up on that and had a dream about it before you learned of it, is that's definitely, to me, deja vu.
I feel like it is. I told my sister this kind of... So I told my sister about this, and she was like, oh, I think you probably just heard people talking about this weird plane crash and stuff. But I don't think people have been saying that there were like body parts on the ground and
Yeah, I think...
crazy details like that to like a child, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah, and the fact that your mind was so specific to come up with that, like, that's
so,
impressive.
I don't know what that means, but I just thought I'm like, is this deja vu? Is it not? But
I think
I
things...
kind of feel like it is.
And I feel like we do need to have maybe a podcast on dreams, too, because...
Yeah.
Honestly, you've actually brought something up, and I may have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but it had to do with spirits. But I remember having a dream a couple weeks before Christmas, or maybe a month before Christmas, when I was like, how old was I? 15, 16? Anyway. And my grandma had died, and this was the next Christmas after that. And my grandma and grandpa would always like send a card and whatnot, and my grandpa sent one that year, but it just said Grandpa Jenkins, like it didn't say anything else. It did my grandma's name on it, of course. And that Christmas, I had this dream, and it was a very strong dream, of a music box. Maybe I've talked about this previously.
I think, yeah, I remember this a little bit.
But the gist of it is, outside of the spirit part that happened after, the gist of it is I had this dream about a dark wooden music box that you could see through the top of it, and it was very deep and whatnot. And I remember...
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
Literally,
April's like right behind you and it's scaring me. And I might leave that in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I feel something behind me.
Do you feel a presence?
Yes,
Is that deja vu?
Yes, it is. Ah, I've experienced it before. So the clap was for. So I remember having this dream about this jewelry box. I said music box, jewelry box.
Yeah.
And it is this dark wood with like a clear top to it, and you could see way down into it. And there was nothing in it, and I couldn't open it. And literally 2 weeks later, we celebrated Christmas, and I had, gifts that were given to us and whatnot. And one of them, I don't know if my aunt picked it out or if my grandpa at that time was still able to do it, but it was a little white box, and I opened it up, and it had like tissue wrapping around it, and it was a music box, or not a music box. I keep saying that. It was a jewelry box. Just kind of a cheapy Walgreens one that you'd buy like in the, pseudo gift section, 2 for $5 or whatever. And it was dark wood, and it was about, maybe 3 inches by 5 inches with a clear glass top with like little frosted leaves on it. And I will never forget how clear that dream was. And I remember connecting it in my mind to my grandma in the dream, because she used to make jewelry boxes. Now, she made them out of shells she collected in Florida.
Oh, wow.
So she would take like cardboard boxes and glue shells to them and put bright red velvet on the inside. I think I still have one.
Oh my gosh.
And they were like little catch-all jewelry boxes. So I always associated that with her. Well, then when this was given to me and it was from her, quote unquote, from her and my grandpa, I was shocked. I mean, I was absolutely shocked about where it came from, how it came, like how out of all the things they could have possibly given, it was that. And it was like I was experiencing it again. Even though I hadn't actually experienced it the first time, it was like that had already happened because of my dream. It was so certain that when I actually had it in my hand, it was like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was very kind of trippy. I mean, which to me, that also was deja vu, because it was something I'd experienced. And I was like, wait, did this really happen? It's hard to believe it almost.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me to another question of like, is deja vu, could you associate that with like some sort of a psychic connection almost? Because when I think about dreams sometimes, I think we're predicting the future a little bit.
Yeah.
If
you dream of something and then it happens after the fact. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, is deja vu just us maybe predicting, or like you brought up before, manifesting the future?
Yes.
In a sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I wonder
that's
that.
just such a weird question to bring up.
To ponder.
Think. Yeah.
Because I have had, I mean, not like strongly prophetic. It's not like I'm predicting horse races or anything, but like,
too bad.
I know, right? It can't be that. It's got to be flaming wheelbarrows. But it's like I've had dreams where, again, something has happened, and then however long later, there's no specific timing of it. It could be a year later if I remember the dream, because usually you forget your dreams, but it happens again, and I'm like, wait, has this happened already? Or wait, I had a dream about this. I dreamt about this happening, or a song coming on during something specific, and it's happened here at work where someone has started talking about something, and I'm like, wait a minute, not that we've talked about it before, but wait a minute, I've already thought through this. Like, this has already been processed for me, and it's just coming up now.
Yeah.
And it definitely, to me, just fits. It just makes sense that that's what should be going on, or that it's crazy. It is one of those connections again that I just can't explain.
I know. I don't know how to really even comprehend all of it, but it's so much that I feel like we just needed to bring it up today.
Yes. No, I agree with you. I think it can be.
And it's not something that everyone like talks about all the time.
Mm-mm.
You know,
definitely
people
not.
are just like, oh, deja vu. That's deja vu. But it's like when you stop and think about it, it's like, well, why are we experiencing this weird deja vu thing?
Yes. Well, and sometimes it's kind of like a hiccup. Like I notice when it happens, I'm like, whew, deja vu. Like almost like I got dizzy or something from it. Like, whoa.
Yeah, just like a weird rush. I think
you
said that before.
Yeah, it's like a weird physical, like, I can't almost believe that this is happening again, even though I don't really remember it physically happening the first time, but I know something about this.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool feeling. It's just really cool to feel that. So, Anyway,
I don't know. I feel like we've kind of exhausted the subject, but
yes.
Do you have anything else to really add or anything? I'm trying
Not really. No more cool stories.
Yeah, rack my brain about what we're kind of coming to a close here, but I just feel like it's a weird concept. It's a weird thing. Mm-hmm. It's something that everyone experiences.
Universal. It's definitely universal.
It's definitely
I mean, it's given its own definition.
Parallel universal.
Yes. Simulation type glitches. Who knows? But
it's something that everybody has experienced. I don't know one person that's like, I don't know what you're talking about when you say that.
Yes.
That word or phrase or whatever.
Yeah.
So, everybody knows, and everybody, I'm sure from time to time, wonders where that actually came from. Yeah. So I think it was fun to talk about that today.
I think so too. And it definitely ties into paranormal things and alternate universe
and
stuff.
And maybe we should do like a dream one, because I feel like that's a big thing, is people having weird dreams that kind of correlate to real life maybe.
Yeah.
But because I've had like weird, almost nightmares from when I was a kid that I still remember.
Oh yeah,
the potato chip hand one was
that would stick with me. I had one where
that
there
really
was
stuck.
The Crayola bears were, those old Crayola bears. This is back in the 80s. Were like underneath a witch's cape, and they would come out and grab you and pull you in, and you could see like a cross section under the witch's cape, and like you'd be stuck inside of it. I don't know. Crazy. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, good stuff. But I did have one last thing.
Time.
I know. Save it for another time. I did have a really cool dream that I'll never forget about when I was little, and I was maybe 4 or 5. And I remember it so distinctly. There's some that just stay with you.
Yeah.
And this dream was of me being on the back of an owl, this massive owl, not like a little owl, massive owl. I mean, this thing was huge, like a mini prop plane. And there was a little boy and a little girl, and they looked like little like dolls, like what but not Chucky like dolls, like nice dolls. And I remember it was such a peaceful dream. We were flying around, we were in the city, and we were flying over this clock tower, like this old London type town, very dark, pitched roofs, bright moonlight. It was very peaceful. And I remember the clock tower, and I remember it dinging midnight or whatever time it was on the hour. And the boy and the girl saying, "You have to go home. It's time to go home." And then suddenly I was flown back home, almost like the town in Peter Pan. Okay. The thing is, after all these years of, moving to Seattle and then moving here and whatever, we moved to Holiday. Well, downtown Holiday, and all the houses around it are kind of traditional older houses. They have a clock tower. And it's got the little pitching at the top, and I don't know if it's ever set the right time, but it dings on the hour, but it was like, and this is our home now, like now I'm home. And it just resonated with me. When we moved in and we went to the downtown area, it had just been built, and we passed by, and I looked up at that clock tower, and I was like, that's what it looked like in my dream when I was 4 or 5. And here we are living down the street from it. And
at that time you've never been to the area.
No.
But even like you said, that was never even, it was just built and whatever. So.
Yeah, it literally had been built like in the past 2 years prior to us moving here.
That's insane.
And the really cool part about it is that in no state have I ever lived in. I mean, I remember moonlight growing up, but I grew up in a very flat area of the country. Mm-hmm. Here, when the moon shines out over the river, it shines out over everything.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it shines out from the mountain over this area, and it just reminds me of the dream. Like that has stuck with me for the longest time. So that's another kind of deja vu-y thing for
That's
me.
really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. On that note,
On
that's all I
that
have left.
My camera stopped working, so now we're
done now.
We're
clap,
done
clap. Or whatever that was. Anyway.
All right. There is a crowd of
A
people out
plethora
there. Yeah.
of people here to speak.
To speak. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Coming on this lovely Friday morning.
Yes. Anytime.
Kind of chaotic at the moment, but
I know.
That's okay.
Little traffic heavy.
A little busy.
But
thank you. I always love having you on. So
yes. Well, thank you.
We
Tara.
get on our tangents, and I love it.
We do.
So
yes, we will be deja vuing it back again and getting on another tangent at some point. So
there will be plenty more where this came from.
Yes.
So please follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, Paranormal Podcast. I am currently recording these for video for YouTube. So maybe if my camera.
Yes, you get to see our pretty faces. So
it just stopped like in the middle of this. So I guess to be continued.
Yes.
This is the to be continued part
TBD,
from the
to be determined.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you, Melissa. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.